Okay, so welcome back, guys. I guess something I want to talk about. I got two different videos that I'm making fresh today, so let's just jump into it because they're gonna be one-offs. I don't have the time to edit today, and I'm already in the middle of editing a bunch of other videos. But I do want to talk about a couple different concepts really quickly. Low on just happened last night, so one of these is gonna be low on. But this concept here that I want to talk about is
This is one of those
bots and the
moments
importance to the economy
you
type of
gotta
shit.
ask yourself.
I
You
think they're
actually are gonna see you are going to see a paint in this, so I hope you guys are prepared for that because it's just a quick explanation. I don't want to take too long. But long story short, I reacted to this video, or not reacted to it, but watched it.
bots. Yeah,
It's a
Straight
good
up, if you
video.
can trade and gold is worth something, you're gonna have bots. In
Um,
Final Fantasy,
it's them talking about bots and how they affect the game and da 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 da. So I want to fast forward to a couple different points though. So they're talking about the player charts, and first off, if you want to know how many of these players are accurately bots, one, you can look out for the ban waves when they tell us it's a ban wave, how many players get removed just straight up. But the best way to look for bots actually is the dead times. So NA East, and I've talked about this before in other videos of mine, the way that time zones work is that NA East dead time should be between NA East times, East Coast times should be between about 11 p.m. to maybe about 4 a.m., right? Give or take a bit. Obviously, we're roughing it. So in that time frame is when you should be reaching your lowest player count, and the majority of the players on at that time should kind of be bots. So I'm thinking there's about 20,000 to 30,000 bots, and that's about it, which is still a lot, don't get me wrong, but I think there's about 20,000 bots split up between the regions. I know from talking to South American players that there really isn't that many bots heavily down there, so I'm thinking the NA East region is probably the most heavily botted. For sure, but we're also the most heavily populated, so it also makes sense. It's a correlation, right? Um, but yeah, so I just wanted to say that I don't think that it's 50,000 or 40,000. I actually think that we have about 50, 60,000 concurrent players now, which is more before I'm not going to get into this with everybody. I'm quickly just going to pull up the Steam chart. Um, or no, you know what? I'm not even going to do this. Why prove points I've already proved? You can go look it up yourself. World games like Black Desert Online, World of Warcraft, Old School RuneScape, all these other games have a concurrent player amount that's about, anywhere between 30 and 80,000. And the 80,000 is pushing it. Most of these games are hovering around 30 to 40,000, right? So, and it's not just those as well. There's games like Smite. There's all these other games other than PUBG or the mainstream games like Fortnite or Minecraft that are about 40, 50,000 players. So when people are like, oh, the game's dying because the game... No, you don't know analytics or data enough to say what you're saying. The game's okay. Does it have a lot of bots? Yes, it has a lot of bots. Is it the majority of the players? I don't really believe so. And in addition, is it having a dramatic impact on the game? Yeah, it is having a dramatic impact on the game. So now let's get into the part where we talk about the impact that the bots are actually having and why you guys don't exactly see the full picture or see the bigger picture. And why you don't understand a lot of my principles or concepts that I teach throughout my entire series. And that's the other thing I also wanted to talk about is my YouTube channel is meant to be looked at as a series in a sense, right? So let's just go ahead and click right into this. And the reason I'm saying this now is that if you go in here and you click on a playlist, I have the playlist all set up in a sense that they're like storyboarding, right? Meaning that you go from the first video, you scroll down, you watch them in the order that I recorded them. But more importantly, when you go to the efficiency guides, right, and the playlist of the efficiency guides, it's actually really relevant to follow this in order because it's kind of the way that the ideologies get formed from the foundation up, okay? So I just want to say that in here. But let's go back to talking about bots. Oh, okay, bots. So let's get into this. They're talking about the economy. They're talking about what's right, what's wrong. They're talking about the blue crystal prices. So let's go ahead and flash forward to the blue crystal prices as well. First off, I thought it was funny as fuck when Stoops is like, this is normal. I want to say that the gem prices are partly because of old ice, and we're actually moving towards a gem crash at the moment. And if bots were such a big issue that they're the reason gems were actually down in the first place, and we're going to get to that conversation in a second. I just want to get to the blue crystals. So this is a big misconception, and it's been a misconception since the game came out because people just don't understand how supply and demand works. If your blue crystal prices are higher, it means that less people are using the royal crystal shop because it's supply and demand. I have to put an order purchase in with the royal crystals to buy from the game developers to then have it then traded for blue crystals. But if there's not a lot of you looking for blue crystals on the regular with gold, then, or if there is a lot of people looking for looking for blue crystals with gold, but there's not the same amount of people putting in royal crystals to make those blue crystals, then you're going to have a smaller supply and more of a demand, i.e. RMTing. So what we're learning here is that the Western audience is the bigger RMTing audience, in my opinion. That's what we're learning here, is that your blue crystal prices are high or jacked up or spiked because there's less people either legitimately whaling with royal crystals, or you have more cheaters in your ratio, which means that the people who are in your ratio are causing you guys to have a higher blue crystal price. That is how that's working. It's a supply and demand system. If you don't put $100 into royal crystals, there's not $100 of royal crystals to be there to be traded on or to be bought on in the supply for the blue crystals, which means that you have more people buying blue crystals than you have using royal crystals. That's why your prices are so fucking high. And you know, probably a bunch of other reasons too, but it's not about what they're saving gold and they're doing that. It's nothing to do with that. Genuinely, it means that you're spending more on the blue crystal side than you are on your royal crystal sides. Period. The end. So congratulations to NA West for being probably the most cheated fucking version of the game. But anyways, let's fast forward again. So that covers the blue crystal concept, and I thought it was so funny when he said that's not a problem. But now I actually want to talk about this because he said something that's actually really intelligent. He understood the phases of the game to a degree. Does he understand how to actually play in those phases? No. Why? How do I know that? Because he told you if you're a whale to basically whale out when the blue crystals is high, which is correct, but that is not good advice for anybody who's not a whale. So now I want to talk about why the bots are actually important to the economy and why they've actually helped us get to the state that we're at. Okay, so there's nothing else really for me to talk about in here. Those are my opinions on everything that they had talked about. Let's go ahead and pull up the paint now, and we'll talk about what bots can do for you. Okay. I'm sorry if you get flashbang for just a moment. We're going to do what we've been doing, which is paint the back screen, just so you don't get flashbang. So let's talk about something. When a bot is, if the price of something, of material X, is 50 gold, right, at its baseline, and we want to, I can't move it, but whatever. At its baseline, it's the price of a material is X 50 gold. But when bots come around, because that material gets flooded, so we have X times bot, right? X times the bot equals 10 gold. Right? So just stay with me for a second. And we have two types of economies here, okay? We have a deflated economy, and we have an inflated economy. Just for perspective, so people understand what we're referencing here, this is a deflated economy, which would be the equivalent to this, which is what bots do to a lot of the materials, and this is an inflated economy, which would be the equivalent to without bots, right? Now, I want to talk about something that I talked about in a long time ago in another video, but why I think bots are actually kind of really helpful and or useful, is everybody who has level 10 gems right now, right, or everybody who has was able to get the arrays that they needed, right? If first we'll take a look at the gems. If level 10 gems were the appropriate pricing and they weren't over flooded by the bots in the first place, you would have never, most of the people in our region wouldn't even have their level 9s right now. You wouldn't have level 10s. You wouldn't be accruing, especially if you were playing, if you're a less than 6 character Andy, right? You're a one main Andy. Who the fuck plays one main in MMO? But if you're a one main Andy, you definitely weren't getting your gems. And you definitely weren't buying them. Because you could imagine the prices would have been maybe 2 to 3 to 4x what they are currently because of how much our market has been saturated with gems. So I just want to say for the people complaining about bots thinking that that's the problem with the game. Well, not really. It's a problem with the game, and I agree that it is a problem with the game, but we're already past the tipping point of where it can be fixed technically because you've already had an oversaturated market. Now let's get to the arrays. And currently, and I bragged about this in a couple of my videos that I didn't upload, but the South American community actually, or servers, followed my exact predictions with the array bottleneck. And the reason is because my math, it was all based on math. Every prediction that I had made was based around a farm, an input, and an output, and our input was just significantly less than our output, and that's why that bottleneck would have been there. If we didn't get the bots, you guys would have seen the bottleneck on our region of the game as well, and whether you want to believe it or not, I don't give a shit, because again, South America followed it to a T. It doesn't matter how many players we had, because the ratio of what the players needed to what the players could produce 1-to-1 wasn't matching up, hence the bottleneck. And now with the low on, it actually makes more sense, and I'm not going to talk about this to my next video, but it actually makes more sense now with the way that they've structured the end game for us. And I'm not going to say that because I don't want to ruin it, because these are my ideologies that you won't get from any other content creator, because I'm fucking smarter than they are. Anyways, back to the bot concept. So in their region, their highest array price was like 130 to 150, and ours was like 30. So I just want to put something in perspective. I think we needed about 5,000 arrays to get to 1620 or whatever the fuck it was. So just bear with me. If the math is wrong, it doesn't matter. It's proving the fucking point, you dip stunts. All right. But 5,000 times about 30 gold, which is what we paid for our average arrays, is about 150,000 gold. That's already a hell of a fucking deficit. Could you have imagined if it was 5,000 and we won't even go to the 150 that theirs was at? We'll just go to 120, right? 120 gold. It would have been 600,000 gold per character. So could you see the absolute gravity or the effect that would have had if we didn't have bots in the economy? That those things that we weren't farming would have been significantly higher priced, meaning that even less of us would have been able to hit those milestones that we had wanted to hit. See where I'm going with this? So again, you can say you're welcome to the bots, because the bots are the reason that you even had an opportunity to reach the eye levels that you reached at an appropriate pace. Now take a couple of those RMTers and they buy, or just a few whales and they buy all of it, and we're in that other situation. Like I said, that bottleneck gets created and then you can't even do it. It would have been even worse than what it is, especially in the NA East, where we have probably a lot more medium stance players, non-whales, versus the 5 to 10% whales. But those 5 to 10% whales would have fucked the entire rest of the economy. But it didn't happen. The bottleneck didn't happen because we got the bots. So congratulations again, you're welcome. It's almost like whoever runs the bot saw my video and was like, look, opportunity, let me make some real world money off these idiots. But anyways, let's get back to the concept. So now that we've established that bots are actually better for you when it comes to honing, I want to talk about another big concept that I talked about back in the day that is very relevant now, and why I've always told you guys that I actually prefer because this is where Stoops is wrong. Stoops is like, oh, it's better to hone in this economy. It's better to hone in this economy down here. You want to wait until the economy drops and then hone and not hone up here. I actually disagree with him. Yes, is it good to hone down here? It's good to hone down here using tradables. Okay, I'm not going to write it out. It's good to use tradables down here. If you're going to hone down here, it's good to use tradables down here. Anything that you could have traded, because it's a deflated market. If you're up here, it's still great to hone. As a matter of fact, I'd argue it's even better to hone than the deflated market with bound materials or non-bound materials, and here's why. Here's why I like the inflated economies and why I think the bots are just as important. Is because in this economy that we're in, bots were decreasing the prices. They were decreasing the prices. Or just say bound. They were decreased. So up to this point, you should have been honing with bound. It's following that same two-phase principle that I talked about before, three-phase principle, where it's save, hone, save, hone. So we've been in a save phase where you only use your bound materials and save your tradables right now, because tradables are worth more to sell than they are to use at the current moment. So you use them and you get more value for your day-to-day actions, making it easier to hone. So that concept that let's take a couple back steps. That concept that we talked about a long time ago and why it's easier to hone in an inflated economy is because all the prices of everything that you need to hone stays the exact same. The price of honing to tap stays the same. If it was 1,000 gold per tap, it's 1,000 gold per tap. If it's 16 stones per tap, it's 16 stones per tap. Your elixir, same price. Your quality tap, same price. None of the actual prices in the game for what you need to move forward in the game actually change. They all stay the same. Thus meaning that if you can get more value on a day-to-day basis from the materials that you're farming, that you will be able to hit those thresholds quicker or hit more of those thresholds. So if it costs you 1,000 gold to hit a honing tap and you only make 200 gold a day, it's going to take you 5 days to do it. But in an inflated economy, if you can make that 500 gold in a day, you can do a tap a day. So again, the reason why I don't mind an inflated economy is because that's actually the better economy for you to be honing and doing things in, because you're making more gold than you would make in a deflated economy. If that doesn't make sense to you, I apologize. You're just another one of those, you're a 99%, and that's how I'm going to keep wording this, because it's hilarious. But, so I prefer to hone at this point. Now, why the bots are actually crucial is because now in the end stage game, the bots aren't actually affecting your end game materials, i.e. this inflated market. So you're still making a ton of baseline gold, but you don't need a bunch of baseline gold. You probably need about this much gold, and you're now making this much because of inflation. So because you don't need that much gold, you have a ton of excess gold, and the bots are taking care of something that nobody wants to take care of, which is tradable materials and stuff, keeping them at a low price, which means that you not only have an excessive amount of gold, but you're able to get a good portion of the materials you need at a discount, allowing you to progress even faster in the game. And I'm not going to talk about gems, I'm just going to talk about arrays, because I actually think that's the bigger factor here, since it's a part of the honing process. So, That being said, I'm going to end this. I don't think I need to say much more than that. That's the concept here, is that Stoops was wrong. I don't care what anybody says. This is how I've been playing the game for years, and until one of you guys comes up with better progression than me, especially somebody who got stuff sent to him for free, whales the fuck out of it, has sponsorships, is exclusively looked at by the game developers or whatever the case is, has all these Korean friends, had the prior experience, until you fucking beat me on the board with the time that I have played, I'm not going to listen to your bullshit advice. You might call my shit scamage, but the reality of it is you can, any day you want, we can both make new accounts and I can prove the theories. The point is, you versus me. That's the challenge. Whenever you're fucking ready. But the point is that in an inflated economy, it's better to hone. You're getting more materials. The cost of honing doesn't actually change. The cost of upgrading in this game doesn't actually change. So the only thing that can change, the only factor that can change, is the amount of money that you make per day. And if you're making more money per day, you're actually able to do more with the in-game limited system, the set or the constant that is honing or upgrading. Bots are important to the economy. They're allowing you to do things that you wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. Do I think that I want them forever? Do I not want them banned? No. Of course I want them banned. But I do think we're at a tipping point right now where there's too many people at the top end that didn't get it legitimately, either RMTing or whatever you want to say, I don't care. But they're at the top end and they didn't get it legitimately, that if they were to just completely get rid of the bots now, that these people are probably going to quit the game, or the people just beneath them will probably quit the game because there won't be enough surplus. It'll be even worse than it was before to be able to actually hit the goals that they want to hit, because the bots have already existed now. Because the bots have already pushed us to a cracked point of the game. Without the bots, we actually don't sustain as healthy as we could, if that makes sense. Because we have more characters than we actually should at this end game state. So I'm not trying to disagree with everything they say. I want to get rid of the bots too. I'm just disagreeing with a few of the things they say, and this one's the biggest one for me. And this is actually a part of my teachings, the Evolved Mentalities, is that it's actually better to hone in an inflated economy than it is in a deflated economy. And the reason is that the cost of upgrades do not change. Quality will always be 300 gold a tap or 800 for a weapon. Honing will always be the same exact honing cost, whether it's in an inflated economy or a deflated economy. And since you get natural progression, enough bound materials to hit your thresholds and hit your goals for the most part, you should really be paying attention to this, and you really should be honing in the inflated economies, which was this economy now. The save economy is the economy that we're moving into. We're about to move into a deflated economy, so this is a nice little economic prediction, a little Easter egg for everybody that watches my videos all the way through. We're moving into a deflated economy, and I mean probably one of the most deflated economies that we've ever had, other than like the beginning of the game, so be prepared for that. This is where you would stock up on blue crystals. This is where you would stock up on tradable materials to then hold on to for later. This is where you would hone with tradable math if you really want to, because the loss isn't that big. But yeah, I think that's good. That's like 16 minutes. I mean, like that guy said in the comments, better to have one good statement than to keep rambling, right? So I'll just leave it at this. If you don't understand that, I can't help you, because it's kind of straightforward fucking logic for anybody who gets basic economics. I'm basically telling you that the price of milk didn't change, but your income went up. Like, and it's just better to be in a state where the economy is inflated and the price of the milk stayed the same. So if you're making more money, but the other prices of everything stayed the same, you're actually able to accomplish more. So be happy for inflated markets, I guess is kind of what I'm saying. And bots aren't as big of a problem as you think they are, because they're actually alleviating a large portion of stress. Like a large portion of stress. Even whales would have had a really hard time hitting 1620 if they made the array price what it was, or if the array prices had followed the natural order they were supposed to. So that's it, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. That's Evolved Mentalities. Tune it out. As you know, another great concept that no other kid is talking about or thinking about, because their brains can't operate on the fucking level that my brain operates on. Also, to that kid that said I shouldn't be insulting people in my videos, have you just not watched the channel the whole time? Two things. One, I don't give a fuck. I don't care if I blow up. All right, if I stay at 500, I'd rather have 500 loyal, good subscribers that love me for me, because they know who I am and they see what I produce and they enjoy the quality of the content that I give, than to change what I'm doing and change who I am so I could try to get a couple thousand more subscribers on the top of it. Do me a favor and fuck off, right? Don't like, I don't mind. I'm gonna keep insulting people. This is what I do. This is who I am, and I hope to bring it to that next level where I'm insulting people more than just Lost Ark at some point. Like Pokemon or cookies thing. That would be fucking funny. I'd love to go rash on that concept. But anyways, I hope this helped you guys out. If you listen to my advice, I promise you, you'll prosper in these markets, because technically, if you look back at my economic advice in the past, if you were listening to it, you would have been buying tradables at this point. We would have gotten to this point. You would have had more than enough materials actually to hit your goals, and you would have just sold everything, allowing you in this next economy, which is going to be down here, to then reinvest and get even more done after the honing nerfs and stuff. So to anybody who listened to my advice along the whole entire way, congratulations, you're just forever going to be ahead of every other player in the game, because you're a 1%er. But yeah, that's it, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.